What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review and a sort of unboxing and look at the documentary called Invaluable, the true story of an epic artist, and that epic artist is Tom Sullivan of The Evil Dead. Let's check it out. So yeah, this is a new release that just came out from Synapse Films. MVD Entertainment, who does a lot of distribution with them, sent me a copy out to review this documentary, and man, I have a lot of thoughts on this one. Got a lot of stories behind this making of this, and like who's in it and what's all about. It's essentially about Tom Sullivan, who did all the practical effects and like claymation and a lot of the artwork that you would find in the movies Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. He even had help in the Army of Darkness and many other things. These are the stories of everyone that kind of grew up with Tom in a way while they were making the movie Evil Dead 2, and some of the Army of Darkness. There's a lot of the people that were in all these movies, including Bruce Campbell, Ted Raimi. There's a lot of people that are in this movie telling the story of how Tom Sullivan came to work with Evil Dead, and that's, I would say, the lion's share of this story, but it goes into every movie, a lot of his other work that he's done. A lot of people don't know that Tom Sullivan actually has done a lot of artwork, including paintings and things for like Cthulhu and like Lovecraft universe stuff that he's done, which are fantastic, by the way. And I'm going to go over all the extras and everything in here, but this is just going to be the initial what I thought of the film and kind of give you that before you might want to pick it up. It's out now, actually. It came out on the 1st of this month, and I'm just now finishing up watching all the extras in this because there are aplenty. But afterwards, we'll go ahead and show you kind of what's on the inside, what all the special features are, and kind of just tell you what I think of the overall box and everything. So the story of Tom Sullivan is actually quite an interesting story, and the only thing I would say missing from this documentary is maybe a little Sam Raimi, but he's in here in smaller, older segments and stuff. But when we're talking about Tom Sullivan, it's going to be a lot of pretty much everyone else that has ever been around Tom Sullivan. I've seen some stuff in this documentary that I've never seen before, and the strange thing is that it actually came out in 2014, hit a few of the festival circuit, you know, and was never supposed to come out on another release, but they finally have released it to the public in a Blu-ray format, and it is just the Blu-ray itself. Quite a bit of extras on here that we'll get to in just a moment. But yeah, it's really interesting. You kind of forget about people like the special effects, the art department, and all the people that kind of make movies happen, the aesthetics of which, you know, because it takes a whole community of people to make a movie. Even if it's an indie project, there's a lot of heart, devotion, and time that have been dedicated to trying to make things work. And boy, do you really get a good understanding of what Tom Sullivan, you know, went through to make these movies. You know, a lot of the stuff that he made, he didn't really get paid for. We're not talking like large sums of money, but, you know, he did it because he was just passionate about it. Now, yeah, obviously he's made money since then, and I'm sure that he's made some really good friends along the way, as you can see in this film. But they interview just about everyone. I mean, there is everybody in this fucking film. You know, Rob Tapert does some talking, you know, a lot of the actors and people who were in the Evil Dead movies, you know, just a plethora of people who were talking about the grace of Tom Sullivan and a lot of the work that he did to make the film come to life, including the Necronomicon, which is, you know, actually a lot smaller. The original is a lot smaller than you would assume. They show you how he did some of the practical effects and things to kind of make these things work. They show you sort of the sort of early artworks, and also, like I said, a lot of his other work that he had done in the Lovecraft universe, which I'm super interested in. And there's a feature in this film about this story idea that they were going to do that was going to be all claymation. You remember Phil Tippett doing Mad God and how that's kind of blown up the scene again? Well, we're starting to get claymation and repurposed into movies again, and it's become a sort of a popular medium again in some ways. So seeing a movie made about Lovecraft called Cry of the Cthulhu would be really cool, and they kind of talk about that in this movie. But this is a chock full of a lot of stuff that I've never seen before, as I mentioned. Like, they take you out to the original location where the cabin from Evil Dead was, the first movie, because as you know, the second one was done in like a auditorium in a high school, and some of the shots were done outside. But yeah, it's like crazy to look at all the spots that these amazing filmmakers got to make this amazing film that has really changed the landscape of the horror industry. Just this tiny little independent film from a bunch of guys in Michigan who sat down and just wanted to make something. And it is really an incredible story. Now, there is a little bit of controversy with some of the guy who made this film. It's by a guy named Ryan Mead. I won't be getting into that too much, but I did hear some rumblings about that from people who grew up in the area. I just want to kind of focus on this release. Supposedly, this release wasn't supposed to come out, but they kind of did put it out anyway. But I don't know the entire thing about that, so I don't want to like delve into it and not know what the hell I'm talking about. So I hope you guys understand. But, you know, this did get released. It was released on a very limited basis back in like 2014 or 2015 or something. And then they got this whole thing put together and put into this. I really didn't know that much about Tom Sullivan as much as I did after watching this. And, you know, I knew of Tom Sullivan, of course. I knew how he was a big part of the film. But the title of the film being Invaluable is quite true in a lot of the stuff that we learn about it. We talked to a lot of the schoolyard friends in the neighborhood with Sam Raimi and Bruce and, you know, Ted Raimi, and they talk about, you know, Josh Becker, who was another filmmaker who was kind of like competing with Sam Raimi. And they even do like another documentary in this film called Other Men's Careers, and it is actually just like a whole entire documentary, almost as long as this other one, and it kind of goes into that other guy, Josh Becker's life. And that's actually creator for another documentary, but they put it in here anyway because it's so closely related, and I would assume that they probably worked together to make both of these documentaries, Ryan Mead and the other director. So there's a really good look behind the scenes of everything Evil Dead. And I would say that if you're a fan of Evil Dead and kind of how it came about, this might be something new and fresh that you didn't know and may fill in some of the gaps on little things that you may not have ever realized. They get into the heart of it. They get into the ups and downs of it. The other documentary is actually a little bit more on the like heavier side a little bit, but it's still very interesting. And, you know, they get into depth with Bruce Campbell and all these other people in Michigan who all just like kind of came together. And it's a fascinating story to see how all of these creative types just kind of got together. And in some ways, it's very inspiring because it shows you that you don't necessarily need to be the top of your craft in order to do it. Obviously, Sam Raimi and all these people are very talented individuals. Even if you think it's schlocky now and you're a young buck who doesn't really understand why these movies are as popular as they are, in my personal opinion, like the Beatles to me, because they infected everything, kind of like the Beatles did with music. These guys did with horror and filmmaking. You know, Sam Raimi's style and everything was just so out there and different, the way he used his camera, and with Tom Sullivan's help and kind of envisioning what, you know, Sam Raimi was trying to see, because Sam Raimi isn't an artist, okay? So Tom Sullivan had to literally listen to Sam Raimi and kind of what he wanted and then kind of transcribe it into what he came up with in his own creative brain. So he was like an interpreter, and his own creative touch is obviously well over the Evil Dead franchise. So it definitely gave me a better perspective on Tom Sullivan. I want to kind of like outlook for all these other things that he's worked on. There is a lot of stuff in here, and I'm going to go over that with you guys right now so you can kind of get an idea what's in this release. Like I said, you can pick this up from Synapse Films. I'll put some links down below for Synapse, MVD, Amazon, whatever works for you if you're interested in this. Like I said, if you are an Evil Dead collector and you love Evil Dead like I do, then I would say that this is definitely a really great watch. So let's go over what's in this package. So obviously you see the Invaluable, and it's got a lot of his work behind him, Tom Sullivan and everything. There is another reverse cover, which I love Bruce Campbell, but let's just be honest. He's hamming it up here on the front, obviously, like he always does. We love Bruce, of course. But this is a documentary about Tom Sullivan, right? So I kind of prefer this one, but you have both options if you like. On the inside, we get the disc here, which, you know, you can see is just the Invaluable disc. There is no DVD or anything like that, and it comes with some of the artwork that Tom Sullivan did on the actual release of Evil Dead, which, as you may know, it was called the Book of the Dead before it was Evil Dead. And a lot of the guys make fun of that they called it Evil Dead because they thought it was just kind of silly. But yeah, and it also comes with the Synapse sort of catalog that shows you what they got coming out. So there's that, and a lot of the extras I'll go through here on the back here for you. Like I said, they got The Other Men's Career, which is a bonus documentary about the filmmaker Josh Becker, who is friends with all of the guys in Evil Dead. He was in a lot of their like short films. He worked with them a lot, and they were all buddies and everything. And it kind of talks about his life and, you know, how things kind of didn't work out and did work out. Bruce Campbell was in one of his movies called Alien Apocalypse, so you can check that out as well. In there they talk about that. There's also a vintage Tom Sullivan in the Spotlight interview, which was really interesting, from 1989, which is amazing. They got an unedited interview with Tim Philo, the cinematographer from the Evil Dead, the extended interview segments with Josh Becker, invaluable promotional trailers, Ryan Mead's short films. That's the guy who did the documentary of this. It's a Bongfly and another one called Cosmos Locos. The Bongfly is about a 15-minute short, and the Cosmos Locos is actually a 35-minute story. It's about like this guy having a really shitty day going to a horror convention. His girlfriend breaks up with him. All these bad things happen. And of course, Tom Sullivan is the guy who actually makes the best day for this guy. I didn't get to finish the whole thing, but I started both of these just to kind of give it a whirl. But it's interesting to have on here so that the documentarian has some of his work in here as well. You also get behind the scenes on the Bongfly short that he did and snapshots at Still Gallery. Pretty jam-packed, full of extras in here, and you can pick this up for $29.95. Thank you, MVD, for sending me out this copy. I'm definitely glad to have it in my collection to go along with Evil Dead, because it kind of fills me on a lot of stuff, and I have a much more appreciation for Tom Sullivan than I already did. Thank you so much for stopping by and chilling with me, guys. I love watching these kind of things and talking to you about them, so let me know if you are interested, or if you picked up a copy, or maybe you got a copy from 2014 and what your thoughts are on that. Would love to hear from you about all of that. There's more on the way, and as always, long live the void.